DHS Secretary and Executive Director of the America First Policy Institute. Chad, we have to say that this is something that we're grateful did not happen during Trump's term. He had an interesting approach to Russia that was short-circuited, I think, by the Mueller investigation. I think he wanted to have a better relationship with Russia precisely to avoid what's happening right now with Russia getting closer to China. He knew that would be a disaster. He's talked about it, but here we are at this, as Jennifer Griffin said, perhaps a pivot point in history with what Russia is undertaking tonight in the way of military invasion.
And when Russia sees America,
well, I think you're exactly right, Laura. I think what we saw from President Trump is engagement on a number of potential adversaries, from Russia to China to North Korea and the like. And so I think what President Trump realized and saw, and unfortunately what President Biden doesn't, is continued engagement, really from day one. You don't have to agree with your adversaries, but you need to engage them. And I think that's what has been lacking over the last year, as well as just leadership. I think, whether we talk about Afghanistan or we talk about another number of blunders from this administration, I think that sends a signal to our adversaries like Putin and like Xi and others who say, well, maybe now is the time to take some action that we would have otherwise not. And so I think that's exactly what is unfolding here tonight.
Well, I think both President Reagan and President Trump understood that the world is safest and most stable when America's economy is strongest, when our people are united, at least behind the idea that America is an exceptional country. We're not, an awful, rotten, racist country, that, we're good people, we have our political differences, but that prosperity was key to our holding this country together and to growing and to being a force for good, not only for our own people, but a beacon for the rest of the world. When we're weak at home, all hell breaks loose all over the world. I mean, that happened in the 1970s. Reagan said it has to be peace through strength, and he meant economic strength combined with military might. But as we've seen over the past year, especially in 2 years since COVID, we've been back on our heels. A lot of the country's been locked down.
Stop saying that shit.
And it doesn't mean our adversaries are going to sit back and just wait for things all to stabilize. They're working toward their vision of conquest and their vision of rebuilding their old days of glory. And I think Putin never got over the Soviet Union collapse. He never got over it. And he was a KGB man, and those were the glory days for the Soviet Union. I lived there back in 1983 for a short period of time, and it was formative in the way I see the world and the way I see them. Those original kind of KGB guys, that was glory for them. They never felt like they had as much power, and since then it's kind of dissipated and collapsed for them, and that's always been the desire, even with the small economy, relatively speaking, have about the size of France.
Well, I think you're exactly right. I think when you look at not having that prosperity here in the United States, and I think not only does that divide us as Americans, but I also think that our adversaries are looking at what's going on here in the United States, and they see crisis after crisis, whether it's inflation, whether it's the border, Afghanistan, and the list goes on. And again, I think they're looking at this saying, okay, now is the time to make a move that we probably wouldn't have otherwise, because they're divided at home, they're not strong, as you indicated. And so I think all of the factors are coming to play, right now, not only in Ukraine with Russia, but elsewhere in the world. And it's a very dangerous time, unfortunately. And it takes real leadership from an administration, from a president, from a vice president that we don't see now putting forth some policies that protect Americans. And again, I don't see that occurring.
Hell no.
I was just reminded that when he was running for president, Joe Biden kept stating and restating that he was going to bring dignity, the normal order of international business, respect in the world.
It's always the man with the biggest lie on his tongue that's going to bring on the biggest devastation on the world.
Things happen, and we understand that, but boy, what a different world we have just 13, 14 months later, and we're seeing it play out, sadly, in part with an emboldened set of adversaries. Chad, thank you.
See, Russia fucked up.
Special report. Brett, we just heard from Putin that experts say an empire of lies has been created inside the United States. It is hard to disagree. Brett, it sounds like that's a that's an attack on what America is, this great experiment in representative democracy. And both China and Russia would like the world to think, you know, they tried that whole system and look, they can't keep it together. It's falling apart.
Yeah, this is a big moment. It's a big moment for the world order, Laura. Good evening. I think that Putin is making a gamble here. He is gambling that this is the move that he takes to take Ukraine back. He has characterized it in this very bizarre characterization of how he sees history, and now he's moving on that. And just moments ago, we got a statement from President Biden in which he says it's unprovoked, unjustified, and that the world is accountable. I think that we're going to see in coming days just how significant that is. Remember, you have a lot of sanctions that hit a lot of European countries, especially when it comes to energy. And a united NATO and a united front against Putin is going to be really crucial for the Biden administration to make these sanctions. In the meantime, Ukraine, I had a foreign minister on special report the other night, is going to fight the defeat on a lot of U.S. weapons. And they are going to fight the Russians, and they could get messy.
Brett, another part of this is the money that Vladimir Putin still does sanctions that will kick in, because he's selling a lot to China and other Eastern nations.
Okay, what happened? Play that shit, bitch.
Oil and natural gas. And would you think it would be incumbent upon our government to do everything in its power at this point, with everything on the line in Ukraine, butting up to the NATO countries, to lower the price of energy here in the United States, to bring it down so Putin is not benefiting from this crisis in part that he created? In other words, by our opening up our drilling and exploration and so forth.
Yeah, but I just don't think that this administration is at that point yet, and it's really interesting. It'll be a test of whether it is. Does the Keystone Pipeline get open? Do other things happen domestically? I think their call is to call OPEC and to hope the deal goes through and Iran steps up production. I mean, I think that is literally their answer, Laura, at this moment. But you're right to say that Russia produces roughly 10 million barrels a day, about $1 billion a day at current prices. And we as a country take anywhere between 5 and 12 million barrels of that every month. So if Russia decides to cut back their production by half, let's say, the price goes way up, and it has to be
what you got, Chris, that you know will get into the car
by the U.S.
Brett, well, we committed a great act of self-sabotage by killing our energy independence in very short order. But you brought up a great point with the deficit of energy that we could have if Putin decides to make that call. Thank you, Brett. And back with me now is Fox's foreign correspondent, Trey Yingst, in Kiev. Trey, what are you saying?
Laura, the Ukrainian capital is still under attack right now. Off in the distance, we just heard another explosion. It's one of a number of Ukrainian cities right now being targeted with Russian missiles. We are also able to report at this hour some of the southern port cities are taking fire. This, again, is a coordinated attack and invasion by the Russian military. Multiple different fronts. It's going to be extremely difficult for the Ukrainian military to defend from this, especially on the front lines in the Donbass region. We were there over the weekend speaking with the troops about their preparations, and they have been there for the past 8 years. They are in trenches. They are really exposed to the possibility of drone or airstrikes that could take place amid this growing conflict. But the fact that the Ukrainian capital, again, is taking fire right now is significant, because it was an even larger line for the West in terms of sanctions and response by Russians, but already the rhetoric is heating up between Washington and Moscow. We heard in that initial declaration of war by President Putin, warning foreign entities and foreign states against interfering with Russia's efforts in this country. Initially, it looked like this was just going to be an operation that affected the east, the Donetsk and Luhansk regions that are partially controlled by Russian-backed separatists, but it is very clear at this hour this is a wide-scale Russian military operation targeting Ukraine, and the coming hours will illuminate just how large the invasion is. But again, at this hour, there are strikes in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev and a number of other key cities across the country. Laura?
Yeah, the reports that we're getting here, Trey, is that it's akin to a blitzkrieg on Kiev, and that the bombing is coming from all sides. So anyone thinking that that Putin was going to play in just a few regions of Ukrainian territory in the disputed regions, that was just a fool's thought to think that he was going to stop there. I mean, is there any Ukrainian air power that could possibly take out any of their, incoming missiles or attacks? I know we have the anti-tank weaponry, but I mean, there's no air force really to speak of, is there, that could take on the Russians? Come on.
The Ukrainian Air Force is about a tenth of the size of the Russian Air Force, and this city and this country as a whole supposed to have air defense systems, but we have not seen any sort of engagement so far in the Ukrainian
Probably because the whole
capital.
thing's a lie.
We also know that was part of the Russian playbook early on. According to the Russians would try to hit their defense systems in different parts of Ukraine in order to prevent any sort of ability by the Ukrainian military to try to shoot down some of these jets that are in the air over Ukraine right now. What was interesting, early tonight, we started to slowly see the airspace over Ukraine closed down, and it was actually the Russians who initially sent out a basically an alert to civilian aircraft not to fly along the border between Russia and Ukraine. That alert slowly started to inch out further, and it became clear that all of Ukraine could be in danger. And you could actually watch on these flight radars as civilian aircraft made their way into Ukrainian airspace, and then upon hearing air traffic control, turned around. And even other flights,
even if it's just a warning, they've made you do that. Sound like they're evacuating.
Sense of what these hours leading up to right now were like. The Ukrainian military right now already mobilized in a number of locations, but again, they're not just going to take fire from the air, but also the ground. In Belgorod, Russia, the southwestern part of the country, you could see on these maps traffic at 3 and 4 a.m. this morning, and that was tanks coming down the street, and it basically was an indicator to this open source intelligence analyst that this was indeed starting. And then we heard from officials in the West, Secretary of State Antony Blinken, among others, basically saying their belief was that this would start tonight. That matched the tone of Ukrainian officials today in the capital of Kiev, who warned the West if something did not happen to interfere with these Russian plans, there would be a full-scale operation against the country, and one is taking place as we speak.
Trey, there was such a flurry of diplomatic activity. Macron in France, his Italian counterpart. We had Blinken, back and forth.
Hey, Blinken?
Biden, Kamala Harris at the Munich conference, all trying to talk some sense into Putin. None of it worked.
You're Putin me
All
on.
of it was summarily ignored. And I think the point that Jennifer Griffin made earlier, where she said that moment when she and Putin were together at the Beijing Olympics.
You hear those explosions behind me? You hear those explosions behind me?
What
Kiev
explosions?
Currently taking Russian fire right now. And look, you make a
I
great
didn't hear
point.
nothing.
There were all these last-ditch efforts by the West to try to discourage Russian President Putin from making this decision. Everyone said you can step back from the brink. It's not too late. I think the most jarring and
I ain't heard
horrifying
shit.
statement came
And
from
I watched
Ukrainian
that.
president
I watched
because you could
Baghdad
hear his
get
voice
attacked
was
live
out of options.
during
And he
Desert
actually
Storm.
made an address
I was there that
to the
first
people of
night in
Ukraine,
March
and
when
then
Baghdad got
those
attacked.
remarks shifted his
You know what
address
guns and
to
explosions sound like.
directly to the
This
Russian
guy is standing in front of a green screen. You hear those explosions behind me? I don't hear shit.
And
Show me.
it is difficult to describe.
Let's talk more show. Let's not make this war like a COVID virus. It's happening, but nobody gets to say anything.
This will be a very bloody conflict. Some analysts indicate that upwards of 50,000 Ukrainian civilians could die in this war that is now erupting between Russia and Ukraine. Also, thousands of soldiers on both sides are expected to be killed if this erupts to the level
called war.
that analysts who were studying this.
The analyst says some people can die.
Those plans do indeed.
Oh my God, really?
This invasion continues. Laura?
Trey, thank you. And joining me now is Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Glenn Greenwald. Glenn, we've heard
Officers all talk. I ain't heard nothing.
Just since Biden became president, of the rules.
Where are the little lights that show the bullets flying through the air?
And the rules-based international.
Where's the siren?
would keep
If there was an explosion, there'd be a siren, right?
Those that were developed together.
Like an air raid siren, a tornado siren, any kind of siren in the morning.
How are the rules-based international order folks thinking tonight, do you think?
Fox is making this look like it's a spy attack, that they're getting away with all this shit and nobody is doing anything.
Catastrophic wars. The idea, though, that simply abstract ideas of a rules-based international order can prevent countries from going to war when they perceive it in their need, their necessity to do so, has always been a fantasy. The way that.
Glenn, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I wouldn't do this if it weren't for the former President of the United States, Donald Trump, who's joining us now. President Trump, thank you for joining us tonight via telephone. You're watching this unfold. Your reaction to Putin's threat if any Western nation or any nation intervenes with this Russian.
Never happened. This would not have happened during my administration. In fact, some people were saying, why did this take place over the last 2 years?
Putin didn't want to do it when Trump was president because Trump's doing it.
I'll explain that to you someday. But it wouldn't have taken place, and it wouldn't have taken place right now. And it's a very sad thing for the world, for the country, and it's certainly very sad for a lot of people that are going to be needlessly killed.
Well, give us a sense, though. I mean, you know Vladimir Putin. I mean, you've dealt with him. How would you have avoided this conflict? How would you have prevented these series of events from unfolding?
Look, I do know him, and I know him very well. We've had many.
She asked, how would you do it?
Along with him fantastically, despite the fact that I shut down Nord Stream 2. Nobody would have heard of Nord Stream 2. It worked for me. I'm the one that shut it down. I'm the one that told Angela you're doing a terrible thing.
Trump is a politician now. He doesn't answer questions.
75% of their energy from Nord Stream 2. It was ridiculous. If you remember, I told you this privately once. Sent them a white flag, a flag of surrender. I gave it to, she said, what does this mean? I said, that means you'll surrender as far as Russia's concerned. They've had a lot of conflicts over the centuries. So I think that it's a terrible thing. The way it started, I really don't believe he wanted to do this initially. He wanted to do something and negotiate, and it just got worse and worse. And then he saw the weakness. You know, it really started, I think, with the weakness in Afghanistan, the way they pulled out of Afghanistan. And I really believe that's where he was thinking.
Huh. Suddenly not live anymore. That's weird. From live to not live. All of YouTube go down? What the hell? Still 13 degrees and cloudy. Haven't even hit midnight yet. Bubbles? Wow.
Sean, the developments are coming fast and furious. We appreciate it.
Says
We're
he won't
watching
bite?
every minute. I am Laura Ingram. This is Ingram Angle. Major developments in Ukraine. Senator Marco Rubio tweeting just moments ago that the Russian invasion of Ukraine is indeed underway. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson is on the ground in Lviv, Ukraine, with the latest. Lucas.
Well, just a few minutes ago, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that he's declared war on Ukraine, saying he has authorized the start of a, quote, special military operation in Ukraine. And right now, we're going to report on the Russian forces on the move from Crimea to western Russia, crossing the border into Belgorod. Right now, we don't know exactly where this is going, where this is going to end. Right now, here in Lviv, the power is still on. There are cars on the road, but elsewhere in eastern Ukraine, we know this is an area that Vladimir Putin wants to take for Russia. Remember those two separatist areas that he claimed he was sending troops to. He's going to protect ethnic Russians. Earlier, in a passionate plea to Russia, in fact, a speech President Vladimir Zelensky called on Putin not to do this. He said that he had learned that Russia was sending 200,000 troops into this country. Let's take a listen to what Zelensky had to say.
That's my blossom girl.
If troops attack us, if someone tries to take away our freedom, our lives, the lives of our children, and we will defend ourselves. When you attack, you will see our faces and not our backs.
Now, Vladimir Putin is always considered Ukraine and Russia to be one people. Of course, the people on the ground here disagree more, but we've seen Putin's gripes with Ukraine. He didn't want them to join NATO. Putin saw what happened in 1999 when NATO spread to the Warsaw Pact nations of Hungary, Poland, and Czech Republic, and then 3 weeks later were bombing Serbia. But tonight on the ground, Vladimir Putin announcing the start of hostilities here in Ukraine. Right now we're seeing forces moving. We just don't exactly know where they're going, but we do know that for weeks, Russian forces have been massing in Belgorod, this city on Ukraine's border, just on the other side of Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv. That is a major area of concern right now, as well as the forces coming up from Crimea and perhaps even some from that breakaway province and region in Moldova, Laura.
Lucas, China's involvement in this operation is not specifically, with troops on the ground. That's obviously not the case. But how significant was President Xi's support for Vladimir Putin at the Olympics, their great show of unity? And when pushed on this, Xi would not push back. Would basically, whatever Putin wanted to do, Xi seemed to be completely fine with it. How significant is that in all of this?
It is significant, but I would point out that Ukraine is a major trading partner with China. I would not expect President Xi to be happy with this invasion. China's a major trading partner with Ukraine. And think about what Russia benefits by taking this country potentially up 40.
Oh, blossom.
There's aerospace, there's large businesses.
Where's my blossom?
It's just an enormous trading partner for China. So I
Watch him.
expect President Xi to actually
Watch
support
him.
a full-fledged large-scale invasion of this country.
What they do?
Well, Ned
Keep me
Price,
safe.
the Pentagon
Keep me
State
safe.
Department spokesman, earlier today talked
Keep me
about
safe.
this new alliance, and he said, "We think that Russia and the PRC, People's Republic of China, also want a world order, but this is an order that is and would be profoundly illiberal." Then he went on to say, you contrast that with a system in all the other countries in the world.
A, I'm not a conservative. B, I'm not a lefty flag waver. see, I am, in fact, by definition, a slave. So I know firsthand everything that you rich people do not. So keep your blinders on and walk away. Yeah, quit spilling lies. There are plenty of conservative outlets. Democrats are not only slaves. He said, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Idiots.
In the last 7 decades, and
People
yet they're
are
saying
retarded.
in many ways is destructive rather than additive.
Democrats are not in the habit of owning slaves these days.
It looks like
So you need to look up the definition, brother man. Before people enter a conversation, they need to look something up, define it, review it, and be like, oh, maybe he has a point.
It's notable that President Biden did not send any U.S. forces here to Ukraine. He sent them to NATO allies in Poland and to the Baltic states. And some people are saying
Poland and the Baltic states. Yeah, that's perfect. Because those places were on the list, right? The list of, the Ukraine cities to be attacked.
Some officials I've spoken to say that
Poland and Balkans, yeah. When Russia's going to attack, they're going straight for Poland because it's the capital of Ukraine.
He's shoring up NATO allies that border Ukraine, like Poland and the Balkan nations. It is kind of ironic that he was afraid
People
that
fucking freaks.
doorstep and now with an invasion of this country.
People are fucking freaks. Bump a pound. Bump the fucking freaks.
Lucas, thank you for this report. We're going to check back with you in just a few moments. And joining me now is Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor.
Yeah.
For Utah Congressman Jason, you're watching this unfold. Putin just said a few moments ago that Russia
God damn.
integrity. Threatening words for anyone who gets in their way. Your reaction?
Well, he's a thug, and he's a monster, and he will continue to roll over people as long as there is a lack of strength. Now, I believe the United States should be involved and engaged in this fight. I do not believe that we should be sending our military into harm's way there in Ukraine. I think we could have done a lot of other things that
If we aid the Ukraine, that's literally like walking over to a pedophile's house and saying, hey, let me give you a gun and some armor.
Now they're going into Ukraine and they're fighting there. And this is a concern because if Putin continues to go unchecked, who knows what other countries he's going to continue to go into.
Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, they're all sort of on the doorstep. I mean, these are countries that I was in 1983 when the area was still a Soviet.
I was doing this in this time era because I'm rich and people need to know that I have some experience doing something.
The fear in the people, you felt it. It was palpable. They didn't want to be part of the Soviet orbit. At least not people I met. It was a different era, but you do get the sense that
Hope not.
feels like he has the wind at his back, Jason, especially with a very different, to put it very charitably, a very different type of American leadership compared to the America First, strong, rebuild the military, strong economy, Donald Trump.
If you look at Ronald Reagan, if you look at Donald Trump, they both have the peaceful strength. The world was a peaceful place when they were president. And it was also because they were world leaders. They were able to
explosions over Kyiv, the skyline right now.
Behind them. That picture of Donald Trump sitting with his arms.
And this is just beginning, guys. This isn't just airstrikes. This is just beginning because Putin hates Ukraine. He doesn't think it should exist as a country. And this is where it was going. We've been talking about this for a month. This was, I said, and I showed you analysts who said the people who were thinking clearly about this said the logic of the situation is such that it's all leading to a really bad place. Then I saw these dumb dumbs. The last 2 days I saw like 3 different like former generals on TV, these general analysts, and they're like, I think he's gonna.
And you preach to the world that global warming is a bigger threat than Russia and China.
To stop in eastern Ukraine. I think he's going to stop in Donetsk. So he's going to put all this giant army. He's going to spend all.
Oh my God, this guy. Oh, he finally hit his peak, man.
All this time to put 3/4 of his army around Ukraine, and he's gonna have all the negative of doing this.
But to protect itself by other means, I've decided to conduct a special military operation. So the Russian people are now aware that their homeland and yet another
Of NATO, of having all of the negative feedback, all the negative results of.
Is quote.
Alright, Gruber Greg, come on.
And marching troops in eastern Ukraine, all just to like take some territory that he are.
Damn, 2 minutes between each chat. Right.
Hang on a second here. Let me check Interfax. Interfax, Ukraine has had some updates. This is a Ukrainian site.
Comrade Steve. This guy's a communist. He's bitching about communists attacking the Ukraine. Ironic.
That's a Ukrainian foreign minister said that. All right, hang on a second. Let me give you some updates, guys. Sorry. So the whole thing is just absolutely furious. Breaking news. NetBlock says significant internet disruption registered in Ukraine-controlled city of Kharkiv shortly after huge explosions heard. Users loss of fixed line service on provider Trioland while cell phones continue to work. That is from NetBlocks. Thank you so much to all of our moderators. I can't thank you enough, moderators. They're all volunteers. I really appreciate all the moderators. Thank you, moderators. Thank you. Ria Novosti, Russia state media says, Russia's defense ministry says it's using high-precision weapons to disable military targets, not targeting civilians. Targeting the 44 million civilians, and they install a government. They kill people and torture people and put people in jail who don't go along with it. I'm sure they'll not target civilians then. Zelensky is speaking now. I'll let you know what he says. Zelensky is
timed out because I called the volunteer moderators a
Zelensky, hold on.
Everything's offensive.
He said,
today.
"Stay calm, stay home. The army is doing its work."
Spiraling out of control. That's what we're understanding from the reporting coming out of the UN as we for you,
go
Jason.
back to the
This is
picture.
the biggest.
That gender-free TV guy, he's the biggest pussy I've ever seen. Like, literally.
Katie Rogers said Biden and Zelensky are speaking by phone right now.
He says random shit. He says random shit, and then when he does get excited, it's only because, like, people actually clicked on his link, and he's like, he usually has like 1,200 viewers. Now he's got 5,000. He's like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to make this look like it's worse than it is. Let's do it this way, Chad.
Okay, this is from Jamie Detmer. Jamie Detmer is with VOA News. He says explosion near the center.
It's BS. See, he's getting all his news from Twitter. That's all he does. He's not showing us any live footage of bombs going off. This is how wars get started, though. You know what I mean? People doing this shit. Nothing's happening, right? And this guy's out. Oh, and the people who are in their houses in the Ukraine are probably going ape shit, thinking something's happening. Just to the power, it's like the COVID thing. People heard the word COVID and suddenly they got freaked out. Everybody started claiming they had it. And you and I didn't even show one damn symptom, did we? Let's see what CTV has to say. Grumps.
So far, explosions could be heard Wednesday night in Kyiv, Odessa, and several other Ukrainian cities as Russian President Vladimir Putin declared the start of a special military operation against Ukraine, the scope of which wasn't immediately clear. Here are the latest Russia-Ukraine updates so far. Russia launches attack on Ukraine. Who's this? The Globe and Mail? Never heard of them. Video. Do they expect people to read nowadays? I guess maybe that's what my job is to read it, right? But I feel like they're just repeating what the other guy said here. I have taken the decision to carry out a special military operation, Mr. Putin said in a televised address, saying he was forced to act by genocide in Ukraine that have been refuted by neutral observers, including the United Nations. Our plans do not include occupying Ukrainian territory. Just before dawn, Kyiv time, local residents were ordered into bomb shelters amid reports of incoming air attacks. Vice President Joe Biden said he would announce further consequences for Russia on Thursday after Moscow's unprovoked, unjustified attack on Ukraine. President Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. Russia alone is responsible for the death.
any country that taxes my paycheck. Play with this a bit, see what I can come up with.
We have a statement from President Biden that has just been released. It is a statement by President Biden on Russia's unprovoked and unjustified attack on Ukraine. That is the way it is titled. And in the president's statement, he says, "The prayers of the entire world are with the people of Ukraine tonight as they suffer an unprovoked and unjustified attack by Russian military forces. President Putin has chosen a premeditated war that will bring a catastrophic loss of life and human suffering. Russia alone is responsible for the death and destruction this attack will bring, and the United States and its allies and partners will respond in a unified and decisive way. The world will hold Russia accountable. I will be monitoring the situation.
The world will hold, yeah.
And will continue to get regular updates from my national security team.
The Illuminati, they can't.
G7 counterparts in the morning, and then speak to the American people to announce the further consequences the United States and our allies and partners will impose on Russia for this needless act of aggression against Ukraine and global peace and security. We will also coordinate with our NATO allies to ensure a strong, united response that deters any aggression against the alliance tonight. Jill and I are praying for the brave and proud people in Ukraine." And joining us now is Courtney Beauty. She is the NBC News correspondent covering national security and the Pentagon. Courtney, what is the latest from the Pentagon?
Well, we're not hearing much here at the Pentagon yet. So, I mean, at this point, I think the majority of the information we're going to get is coming out of Ukraine. But I will say that for several weeks now, we've been hearing more and more about how U.S. military and U.S. intelligence officials expected this to unfold. And so far, it really has begun in the way that they have said. So if you look at this as sort of a three-phase military, this large-scale invasion of Ukraine, phase one was clearly the cyber efforts, electronic warfare, jamming efforts. You know, in the initial phases were not necessarily military or kinetic. And then these false flags that we've been hearing so much about, creating a pretense for attack. Well, it seems now as if we are in the early part of phase two, and that's really the kinetic attack. So the way that military and intelligence officials have expected this to unfold is that it would start from the air. It seems as if that might be the beginning of that now. They expected the early aerial attacks would be from airstrikes, manned aircraft. Russia has some pretty advanced fourth and fifth generation fighter jets, potentially some of their bombers. They're expecting missiles to be used here. Russia has just brought in nearly a dozen ships south of Ukraine in the Black Sea and into the Sea of Azov. They have missiles on them in addition to having some landing ships. They have the ability to put people ashore, mainly Marines. They're expecting some cruise missiles, expecting then artillery to be used. Russia has arranged
those areas while questioning whether Ukraine should exist as an entity separate.
Isn't that weird though? Okay. Isn't that weird though? People have phones upload videos of themselves taking a shit, but when bombs are going off, cameras are non-existent.
The provisional agenda for this meeting is?
Because you know damn certain, if a bomb was going off and there was a war starting, people would be out there with their cameras trying to get that viral video. Am I right? And how come there's not one person from the Ukraine posting any videos saying, help us, we hear bombs? See what I'm saying? This is how fucked up, this is how wars get started. Russia might actually attack Ukraine now because all these people are fucking yakking. And social media can end fucking careers. It can start fucking wars. I'm telling you that right now. Yeah.
Events took place under the opposition, Mr. President. I would like to ask Ms. Rosemary DiCaprio to be able to brief you on those events. But simultaneously, the day was full of rumors and indications that an offensive against Ukraine was imminent. In recent past, there were several situations with similar indications, similar rumors. And I never believed in them, convinced that nothing serious would happen. I was wrong. And I would like not to be wrong again today. So, if indeed an operation is being prepared,
Go.
I have only
Go.
one thing
Go.
to say
Go.
from the bottom of my heart. President Putin, stop your troops from attacking Ukraine. Give peace a chance. Too many people have already died.
I thank the Secretary General for his introductory remarks. And I now give the floor to Ms. Rosemary DiCaprio.
Thank you, Mr. President. Earlier today, the so-called authorities of the Donetsk and Luhansk People's Republic requested military assistance from the Russian Federation. Also today, the Ukrainian authorities declared a nationwide state of emergency and announced other related defense and security measures, including the mobilization of reserves. Throughout the day, we've seen disturbing reports
I said this attack is a lot like the COVID virus. A lot of talk, but you don't see any photos of any cases.
targeting several state and financial institutions. Mr. President, President Zelensky earlier this evening called for continued diplomacy. Separately, President Putin also spoke about his continued readiness to engage in dialogue. We encourage such efforts, even at this late hour. UN staff remain on the ground to provide humanitarian assistance to the people of Ukraine. We are committed to stay in the work. All parties must ensure their safety and security. Respect for international humanitarian law and international human rights law is also paramount. We cannot predict exactly what will happen in the coming hours and days in Ukraine. What is clear is the unacceptably high cost, including suffering and destruction, of an escalation. The people of Ukraine want peace, and I'm certain Russia want peace. We must do everything in our power to ensure that peace prevails. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank Mr. Cotto for her briefing, and I now give the floor to those council members who wish to make statements.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dear colleagues, this is the fourth time the Council is meeting in Ukraine in a matter of weeks. Every time we meet, reality on the ground confirms bit by bit what some of us were even anticipating. Russia has been saying one thing and doing its contrary. We were told troops were retreating when they increased. They were told to stop the since troops were in Russian territory. Rather, they are invading a neighbor, unprovoked, false protests, false narratives, in public.
Oh my God, seriously. Huh. Timed out from this one. Whatever, man. Poser, man. Where? Okay, show me a fucking video. Okay, let's see. Well, oh wait, he said TikTok, didn't he? There are videos on TikTok. Let's go to TikTok.
Запали нам газопровод. Во, подлюки. Лупят по нашему дому, по 32-му дому. О, скоты. Загорелся у нас газ. Вон, видите? Загорелся газ. Наверное, крышу мне побили.
Is this one of those videos? You hear that? She's saying there's a bomb coming and then there's an explosion. Hold on. through the login attempt. Now, oh my god, that was a firework! Yeah. What's the first thing that happens anytime a missile comes anywhere near a city? You hear. Yeah. How come we don't hear that?
Загорелся у нас газ. Ладно, видите? Загорелся газ. Наверное, крышу мне побили. Вот тварь.
Yeah, you know the kind of missiles, right? Missiles today, even the Russian cheap ones, when they land, do you get a little tiny, like a mortar shell going off? You know what I mean? Oh, on the 4th of July, we got the... I want to show you, but I'm streaming live right now. But, yeah, if you go to TikTok, it's like the very first thing you see is a little red ball. Missiles explode. They crush houses. You know? Oh, damn. People are believing that. The building that it hit, and this lady is standing so close to the missile, debris would have did some damage to her or her house. Yeah. And that sound like a propane tank explosion. Bullshit. That's the one video. Show me more. Alright. More bombing videos. Come on, bring it on. Because it's these rumors that are going to get shit started. Bombing. Good, right there. Okay, all that brings up is accounts, right? Videos. Yeah, I gotta log in anyways, just to make a search. People are so fucking sensitive today, man. Seriously. Hell, Russia needs to attack America and just get it the fuck over with. They need to start with all the blue states. You know, if every blue state got nuked today, crime would drop 90% in America. Damn, cold again. Gotta put the jacket on. I'm doubling up this time. I'm gonna put on this one. Then, oh shit. Have you seen my key? Like the big key, little key ring thing? Y'all's gonna have to leave this heater alone. Move it. Seriously. Get coins. TikTok has coins now. Okay, so there's only one video of someone setting off a firework, and I don't even think the dialect was Ukrainian or whatever, but
When I stopped eating meat, dairy, and eggs. My freshman year of college, I decided to try eating a plant-based diet. I basically had to relearn how to cook without any products. After 4 months, I had lost 20 pounds.
U.S. troops with guns and gear on the ground in eastern Poland.
there's Poland videos, but Poland's not even on the list, so alright, let's keep going. Let's see. Ukraine. So I'm from Ukraine. Last 2 months have been fun. No, most recent one. Situation in Ukraine is deteriorating. Five days ago.
Is the day U.S. intelligence predicted that the Russians were going to launch a full-scale military invasion of Ukraine.
Life continued as people were going about their jobs. For now.
But so far, that hasn't happened yet. The situation here in the capital, Kiev, is very calm, very peaceful.
See, there are people with cameras in Kiev. Alright. Ukraine, we're under attack. It's a video. Come on. Is it a video or a photo? I'm guessing it's a photo. Okay. So they got a picture of all this smoke that they added, but yeah, it's not a video. 2 minutes and 12 seconds of just, okay. Ukraine says restaurants, blah, blah, blah. Nothing, there's no... I hate why? Why can't you just pause the fucking video? Why does it have to do that? That's another fucking thing I hate about TikTok. It doesn't function correctly. Motherfucker. No error signs or anything, but if social media does its job correctly, then all the fake news will turn real quick. Like that movie Moonlight Mile with Anthony Edwards. fucking white. What the fuck is going on? Fuck TikTok. Russia is doing all this for PR purposes. What the fuck is this?
But the United States had dealt nuclear devastating blows in Europe, and he was determined to make them pay. United States were recruited and trained in how to target American infrastructure, including energy plants, railroads, and bridges, with goals to create chaos through a terror group. But Hitler was undone by one thing: his dissatisfaction. One of the men, George Dash, wasn't a fan of the Nazi regime and tipped off the FBI. Dash was earlier tried to defect to his boss, but were instead arrested and jailed.
Yeah, I knew it was all fake. It was all fake. There's absolutely no...
Why is it warmer in here?
I don't know. I just got chills. Put the jackets back on.